We're going to take a look at how to remove and install a power supply, as you might have to do that during a service event. The power supplies are keyed, so they only go in one way, and we'll take a look at some of the ways you can tell that you're installing it correctly. Beyond that, you've got your 208 coming into the top, then you've got your DC kicking out to the mods on the bottom. Unseat your connectors. We've got two screws here, one on the top, one on the bottom. Along with that, we have this orientation on the plate that's oriented that way so that the edge of the power supply, as we can see here, hangs over this side. This allows us to remove modules through the center of the display section. If this is installed incorrectly, it'll hang over this side, and you will not be able to access modules and remove them from the rear of the display. Loosen your set screws. Once you've done that, I would recommend removing the top screw completely so that the bottom screw still functions as a hold. And your power supply is now removed. To install a power supply, you'll first want to make sure that your bottom screw is in so that you have something to rest your power supply on. Again, make sure that the edge of the power supply is hanging over this upright towards the outside of the cabinet section. First step, align, drop, it's set. Then we'll want to put our set screw on the top end and begin to tighten that. Tighten your bottom screw. Once your screws are tightened, go through and reconnect your power. Hello. Today we're going to review how to remove a power supply from the front of a DVX-2801 or 2801 display. First step would be removing modules so that we can access the power supply and its connections. This is where the power supply is located on the section. And these are the four modules that we do have to remove to access both the power supply and its connections. So now we'll go in and take a deeper look at how this is actually going to go down. Our first step is we're going to disconnect our power inputs and the outputs from the power supply itself. We'll start with the input. You're going to want to hang these over the front of the display so they don't go falling down. We got our one leg over here, and our last leg on this side. Now that we've removed our cabling, we're going to remove the plate. What connects the plate, it's got one torque screw down there and two T20s up here. They're all T20 torques. Loosen through. take off the last screw. You're going to want to provide a little bit of gentle support to the power supply. This is the bridge punch that the power supply sits on. It's pretty helpful when you're deprived of support when you're taking it out. It'll also help align when we go to install our power supply. When we remove the power supply, we're going to want to remove it to the outside. As you can see, it has these mounting screws to the plate right here that are going to block us from sliding it the other way. So slide out. Might have to help your power cables through a little bit. Get those. And then just remove it through the opening in the display. At this point, you're ready to replace the power supply with your spare. So now we're going to reinstall this power supply. You should have a plate left from when you removed it, and take the power supply off and attach your new power supply to that. These are also T20 Torxes, so same tool you've been using. You've got it mounted, now we're ready to mount it to the display. Our first step is to slide it in to the center of the display. Again, we have to go that way because of these bolts that prevent us from going the other way. So first step would be to get it back there. Might want to, at this point, fish your power cables through as well. And once you've got it fished through, feel for that punch and set it down there, and everything should be aligned. Here's the bridge punch. Once it's sat on there, your holes will be aligned on both the top and bottom, which should make installation a snap. You can see where the holes are neatly aligned, and it's sitting on that bridge punch. If you do have a tote handy in your service truck, it's pretty convenient to hook this onto the face sheet so don't have to juggle your bolts quite as much. We'll go through and we'll get these started by hand. One note, when we do tighten these, we're going to want to get them snug, but only to about 10 foot-pounds. There's not a lot of thread here, so we don't really want to strip that out. And with all the different features, such as the bridge punch and everything else that's on this, it fits on there pretty solidly. And now we'll go through and we'll tighten our machine screws with a very gentle hand. Yep. So we hear that rattle, set at 10 foot-pounds, no tighter. Yep. Now that we've got it physically mounted to the display, we'll go back and start making our power connections. First, we'll go through, hook up our outputs. Tuck those back in the display as well. And we'll connect our input. Now that we've got the power supply physically installed, we'll go back and reattach our mods.